Namaskar, sabhi ko namaskar. I'm honored to be here and taking up this session of talking to Dr. M.V. George. I was going through his career trajectory and I was proud to see his shining career. Dr. George, your shining career spread across varied geographies, holding prestigious positions and executing milestone work. Your professional journey from bachelor's in Madras University, master's in Bihar University, PG diploma from IIPS as one of the earliest batches of IIPS. It was then DTRC, and then PhD from Australian National University. You later joined Statistics Canada and then to Center of Disease Control, and currently affiliated with Emory University, Atlanta. Sir, what a commendable journey. It's something to look up to, and we all juniors look up to become like you. So, sir, the first thing which comes to my mind, what kept you motivating through this shining journey? Dr. George, we would like to hear from you. Sir, you are muted. George, sir, you are muted. Can you please unmute?
Very good morning. This is Latu Singh speaking from Hotolan University, Kokrajhar in Assam. Very good morning, Srinivasan sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. So as I said, I would like to hear you. What kept you motivating through this shining journey?
Yeah, and thank you. First of all, I thank you all the organizers, for inviting me to this session. And one thing, by way of introduction, I want to say, when you say conversation with a demographer, I feel that ideally the person who should have talked to was Dr. Casey Zakaria. And Dr. Zakaria, as far as I know, he was the first demographer to be appointed to the Demographic Training and Research Center, which is now the IIPS. And what he said was that he was the first demographer in India, with that designation. And also I came to know that, I was reading his the letter, his article, and he said that when he joined the World Bank later as the first demographer there. So I don't know anybody who is better suited to talk to as a demographer in that way. But I'm just telling you as a by way of introduction. That's the way. But I have been fortunate to work in the demographic field all through my life. Career, all through my career. And that it was fortunate. And I would say that my training, my studies in IIPS laid the foundation for my demographic career. And that helped me a lot. And I must say that the training or the studies at the IIPS demographic, I think that the courses and so on, it's is one of the best in the world. In fact, I have been to various educational institutions in Canada and also in the US, but I don't think there is anywhere you get such intensive training in demography, and particularly in the technical and mainly the technical aspects and also in the substantive aspects. So this is a very important, and the not only attending the coursework, but also you do the exercises, what you have learned, in various methods and so on, like life table construction or population projections, or using the various rates and ratios. All these are all, in the technical demography. And then these practicals you do are very helpful. And in fact, when I did in my second year study, the practicals I got, I think it was Dr. Zakaria who gave me that. I did all that very well. And then
Thank you, sir. Thank you to listen.
I put as a reference source in a binder. I put all that thing, and it has been a fantastic source for me for my future studies and also for my career. Whenever there is a thing, the technical thing is, I used to refer to that thing. I mean, there are so many books on that one, but what you have done is an easy reference for you. Easily you can grasp what you have done. So that's what the main thing helped me to go into this my career, and also advanced studies. So after I completed my studies in IIPS and with a postgraduate diploma, I went back to Delhi at the Institute of Economic Growth, where they had a demographic unit and demographic division. In fact, the Dr. Agarwala, who late Dr. Hassan Agarwala, was there. He was, when he returned from Princeton University with his PhD, he got that job. And he was there, the first director. And also there was another person who was my mentor, called Dr. Ashish Bose. I don't know whether you have heard his name. He also passed away. So I went there and I worked there for another one. I passed in 1960, and then 62 I was there. So while I was there, I was trying for getting a scholarship to do to do advanced studies, PhD work in demography. So I looked into various places, and the two places I found there but a good demographic program at that time was, one was the Australian National University, which had a department, of demography for one of the oldest, and then University of Pennsylvania. So I applied it to both these places, and unfortunately I got a scholarship offer from both the places. And I took the Australian National University scholarship because it was a PhD scholarship for 3 years with travel and all the benefits. So I took that one instead of taking the scholarship from University of Pennsylvania. And that helped me. So I could complete my PhD program there. I think it was in 1965 I completed. And then while I was there, I found there was a circular about meeting demographers in Canada. At that time it was called the Dominion Bureau of Statistics. It's a statistical department like the US Census Bureau. So then I decided to apply for that job, applied. And then I got a job offer from there. In fact, my professor also helped me. Only thing he asked me was that whether I would be able to survive in Canada with the cold. Canada is a very cold country with a lot of snow and so on. In fact, I used to say that when people ask me about the weather, Canada has only the seasons. There are only two seasons. One is cold, and the other one is very cold. So that is the way I used to describe that. So I joined the Statistics Canada. It is now called, and I was at the demographic. There was in the census division, there was a demographic subdivision there, and where there was a very famous demographer, Dr. Carol Krotke was the head. And I got this appointment and joined there. There were a few other demographers, And we had worked, and I worked there in various positions. First, I became the chief of the demographic analysis and research section. And then while I was there, I was trying for a United Nations assignment, and is assignment at the Cairo Demographic Center. So I got an assignment as a UN expert to go to Cairo Demographic Center, whether I got the chance to lecture or to teach demography to students from various Middle East countries, and then also from Africa. It was a regional center like the Bombay Center. So there I not only teaching, but also they had a special seminar subject that used to be every year there used to be. So at that time the subject was urbanization and migration and urbanization. So my field was, my specialized field, specialization is in migration, both internal and international. So I could participate in the seminar program and also contribute to the papers and so on. So we produced a monograph on migration and urbanization in Africa, in Arab and African countries. So that was the the work in Cairo. I could have continued there if I wanted. Dr. Hussain, who was the director, who asked me, but then my family wanted to go back to Canada. And so after 1 year, more than over 1 year, we went back to Canada. And so I worked there in the census areas and also in the demographic areas, all there. So later I changed my field from demographic analysis to population projections. So I was in charge of and preparing population projections for Canada and the provinces for over 20 years. And that was one of the main responsibilities. So, and while working there, I got the opportunity to represent Statistics Canada for demographic meetings and conferences within Canada as well as in other countries. And also because I was the member of a number of professional organizations like IUSSP and Population Association of America, I could go for the meetings. And then we had to, whenever you attend, go for a meetings, you have to prepare a paper or presentation, and that is very necessary to get the funding for attending the meeting. So it's a lot of hard work. In order to prepare a paper, it is not easy. So always that's the motivation.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Such interesting journey I'm hearing from you. And I can see that you got your base from IIPS. I have a hypothetical question to ask. If IIPS would not happen in your life, where do you see yourself today?
I don't know that. I cannot answer that question, but IIPS helped me. I mean, the training in demography helped me in my career. I do not think about the question you are asking me.
And throughout your journey, like you have such shining professional work you have executed, sir. What you think are the key factors, like what key habits, what key factors which has made you what you are today?
I think it is the main thing is hard work and determination, and then also your ability to communicate and also to get along with the other people, particularly the people with whom you are working with, and mainly your supervisors or anybody who is above you. And that's a very important thing, you see, that to have somebody to support you, to help you. And it is always very important. So you have to have that. One is to do good work. And then also you should be able to say, you should not say no to any new responsibility or work you are asked to do. You should always be prepared to take it as a challenge. And that is a very important thing to succeed. That will create a better impression and a positive image. So that is the main thing, and that's what I have been doing. There is nothing more. So it helped me.
That's very well said, sir. We'll always remember that. And looking at your geographical movement from Kerala to Bihar to Maharashtra to Australia to Canada and now to Atlanta, you must have seen a variety of culture, a variety of demographic issues, and you have worked across everything so smoothly. So, what is so different? Like, do you see the issues of demography or issues of cultural adjustment is very different in these places?
Well, I went to now I can say I lived in 5 countries. India, where I born and brought up, and then also my first education, I mean in the graduate education, and also in the IIPS, the diploma. And then I moved to Australia for my PhD work. And then after that, I went to Canada. So, and then from Canada, after my retirement, I went to USA. And while I was in Canada, I got the chance to go to Cairo Demographic Center for teaching and research there. And that's the another country I have. So five countries, so it is all for in my pursuit of education and employment helped me to go to these 5 or to live in these 5 places. And it is even going to the US now, that also after my retirement, many people did not move from there. I think I know many of my colleagues, but I decided to go partly because I didn't have anybody, my family members there in Ottawa. So my children, we have 3 children, son and 2 daughters. They were all in the US. Now they are all well settled there. So one of my daughters is living in Atlanta. So that motivated me to go to Atlanta. And so they are living close by, but we have our own house and we live there. And then when I was there, I wanted to do some work. So one of the places where my demographic my skill and knowledge could be used was the place called the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, CDC. So they were doing the HIV/D projections and so on. So my field was, specialization was a demography in projections. In fact, I contributed a chapter to on population projections to the methods and materials in demography, the revised edition. So because of that thing, I applied for a position there. I sent my CV, and then one of the persons in charge of these HIV/AIDS forecasts. So he called me and said, "Would you like to work with us?" Yes, I said so. I got a contract assignment job there and worked on the HIV/AIDS projection. They had a model, and the model is the base, the projection is done for the cases of the HIV/AIDS, the incidence of the HIV/AIDS. So, but the base for the projection is population projections. So, sort of a indirect approach. So you make various assumptions on the incidence of HIV/AIDS, and then you apply that the rates to the population projections, which are in
Sir,
current
can I
population.
come in? Can I come in again? So I can
Or,
see you're so passionate about projections work. Although I have seen your CV is full with a variety of work on migration, on aging, on projection. So which among all this work is closest to you, which you feel really, really proud of executing and giving it to the world?
yes, I didn't
So,
hear the
so which
question.
So you have worked on a variety of topics, a
Yes.
variety of methodology. Which is your favorite? Which you feel is like the excellent example of giving back to society? What do you feel is your greatest contribution to demography?
Oh, when I went joined the Statistics Canada, my first assignment was where I initiated that. There was a proposal for what's called the census demographic series, probably work on the census. So nobody had worked on migration before. So I took up that thing. I said I will work on the migration, internal migration in Canada, and in fact my specialization in for my PhD was internal migration. So I could take up this work fairly easily, and I produced the first monograph on internal migration in Canada. Which was published, there it is. I have a copy of this thing here. So I'll show you that one if you like. That was a very. Here is my first first work, the internal migration in Canada. I think probably you may have it in your library. Yeah. So that helped me to work in the field of migration, and I worked on internal migration, internal as well as international migration. And in Canada being a country of immigration, there was always chance for working on migration. So I have been working on both internal and international more, and that helped me to attend a number of meetings, the United Nations meeting on international migration, both in New York as well as in Geneva. So I attended a number of them. I have been a rapporteur on a migration session, and so in so many meetings, workshops. So this helped me a lot. And then later on, I was this projection work was not done very regularly in Canada before. It was all ad hoc ways. So it was decided to have a regular population projection program. So then I got the chance to work in population projections.
So proud to hear that, sir. To set up something
I cannot
from
see you.
scratch. Oh,
Hello. Yes. So
I said
that gave me the opportunity to work on population projections, and it is a quite elaborate program in Stats Canada. We had a model for population projections. We have a parametric approach, in projections, and there's a methodology developed, and a number of people working with me, and so we could. And Canada is another specialty is that there is a census every 5 years in Canada. Unlike here, 10 years, or in the US, it's 10 years. So when you have the census, you try to to revise your projections and new projections based, the base is the census, the population. And we had every 5 years the population projections for Canada and the provinces, which we do. In order to prepare that, first we develop the assumptions and so on, fertility, mortality, migration, and so on. And because it has impact on the finances for the provinces had to be consulted. So we used to go to the various provinces and then present these things and get the inputs from the provinces, and then you finalize the assumptions on projections, and we produce the projections and then published. I have a number of reports, projection reports. So that is the way we did, and then that also helped me to work on various the U.S. United Nations some workshops and so on, projections. I participated, and I got the chance to do that. So I could specialize, and then also it helped me to work on to get the job in CDC in the US because of my specialization in projections.
So I can see projection work is the most close to your heart, sir, and what a commendable work you have done, sir. Hats off to you for this. The next I would like to hear from you, like what advice you would like to give to our budding demographers. So many students here, even the mid professionals like us. What one advice you would like to give to us?
Well, the basic thing to do is to do your studies well, which means the demography, as you know, it has got these two aspects of it. One is the technical demography, and the other one is the substantial demography, and that's the explanation. And then all the techniques, demographic techniques, you have to learn it very well, and so that's the foundation. Just like I had my foundation, you should have the foundation. And then the next thing is to try to, when you try to get a job, or you try for a higher study. So PhD work is always good, so that you have more opportunities to get jobs either in a university or a research institution. That's easier if you have a higher degree. But nowadays, I think there is a possibility for jobs not only in the universities and the government, but also in private business, institutions. So there are more of, when I graduated at that time, the opportunities were limited. The main opportunity was offered by the United Nations, because the UN was at that time, popularizing the work on demography, and that's how the Demography Center was started in Bombay. So they had, anything for related demography, the statistics, you had to go to the United Nations. You have seen the demographic yearbook, the big demographic yearbook, which was a main source of data for that. So I think when you are a student, you should be doing well and also familiar with the data, and not only the data, but also the evaluation and analysis. So in IIPS, I'm sure you will be emphasizing for the teaching. We had that thing, the evaluation and adjustment of data. It is a very important aspect of it, because if you get the data, you cannot if you analyze it without adjustment, you will come to wrong conclusions. So I think the evaluation of the data and adjustment and then analysis, I think that should be very well. That's one thing you have to learn that. And then you apply to places where you can work in the field, in the demography field, and that will be my advice to for the budding demographers, because now there are more opportunities, and you can work on that, and I think there are good prospects to go into as a career for that. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I also would like to hear from you. You are aware of what IIPS offers, and you are aware of what world requires from these demographers. So any one suggestion for IIPS to inculcate, to improvise its offering to students?
Yeah, IIPS is I think I don't know the details of IIPS now, but as far as I know, the Demographic Training and Research Center where I studied has grown to IIPS. And IIPS is I see the name changed. First it was International Institute for Population Studies, and now it is called Population Sciences. So I mean, name doesn't matter. So whatever is done, I think a demographic the work it is done, but I understand that there is a lot of scope for the sample surveys, because what you have get for demographers, most of the data you get from census and vital statistics. And in addition to that, of course, in a third source is it is called the administrative data. In Canada, we were using administrative data for estimating migration within Canada. So that source is something I don't know whether this is done in India. I mean in IIPS, but that's another source one can consider that. The administrative data from taxation, from other areas, you can look into that. So the final thing is the survey, demographic and socio-demographic surveys, and this is becoming a very important aspect, mainly because census is I know in many countries, US and Canada, they are trying to they reduce the cost of the census. Census is a very expensive process. So as you know that the census, the data even only for the total population, you have a full census, and the other cases it is a sample. You have a 20% sample, and sampling is very advanced so much, so that is a very helpful thing that you can have the data. So this census is one, and then the other data is vital statistics. And as you know, Indian vital statistics, they are very much the limitation of the data. So we have to always adjust the data, otherwise you will come to wrong conclusions. So in addition to these two main sources of census and vital statistics, I think the IIPS should explore or start the demographic surveys or socioeconomic surveys. And I think that will offer a lot of opportunity for the students and the staff or faculty to do a lot of research on various demographic subjects. So that's one of the things I would suggest.
Thank you very much, sir. Everyone is eagerly listening to you, and I'm now opening the discussion to the floor. If anyone wants to ask questions to George, sir, please, the floor is open for questions from the audience as well.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I will be very glad to answer.
Those who want to ask questions, please unmute yourself.
Salini, I will ask probably not a question. I just wanted to ask him because he studied his undergraduate and in economics. Now people come to IIPS. Most of them are having a background in statistics. Probably George, probably knowing that. Did you have tough time in IIPS? Because this is what I hear from many of my juniors and other things. Because IIPS was historically some type of technically oriented institute, projection, live table. I don't know. When I went there as an economic student in IIPS in '82, so we had a tough time because this is something we have not learned in our economic course. So how you cope up with the technical of both Professor Sakaria, who had basics in statistics, and also Ramachandran? How did you able to understand their lectures and how did you manage? Because I know some people even left the certificate course in IIPS. I know some people who could not manage the course. And how did you complete with that time? Because economics means no statistics historically. I would like to hear your experience on that.
Well, I think thank you for the question to Dr. Rajan. That I had also the difficulty as you faced because of my lack of background in statistics, but it was a matter of hard work. And we also had the limitation of even a machine for calculating machine. We had at that time the facet machine, and you have to rotate that back and forth, and it was a very hard thing to do that. And we were not. There was a Friden machine, but we were not allowed to use that one. So the students concerned, they had to work. So I think I concentrated on these practicals very much. Whatever, and one advantage at that time was we were only very few students. In my batch, we were only 4. And that for the first year, we were 4. And for the diploma program, we were only 2. And then my colleague, he was a statistician also. So I could ask him help for all that. So I think the constant asking and consultation had helped me to do all the practicals. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, I did all that. In the second year, I think I had the chance of doing these all these practicals. I did all that thing, and I put it in a file, and prepared a sort of a report type, and I kept it, and still I have it. And that was very helpful for me all through my career, So I think that is the way I did. It's only just by hard work. It was hard, but for those who came with a background in statistics, it is easier. That is definitely, that's true. So we have a limitation, drawback, that if you don't have the statistical background in demography. But I think in the future, I mean, it is not the technical aspects, that's only a limited use of that one, in the sense that you have to look into various, the impact of these on socioeconomic aspects. And that's what we are working in any institution where you are in planning or policy making and so on. That's what you are looking at, not what you have done that way. But if you are going for in an actuarial work or so, that work is a technical, like life table construction and all other things. That's very important. So you have, so it depends on what you are working on that, but generally you need both. And because the various models nowadays, the population, you are very much those who have got the expertise in modeling. There is a demand for that, great demand for that. Modeling means future population projections model. So in order to apply, in order to do that thing, you need to have some models. That whether it is fertility or mortality, you may have to apply some models. You model life tables. For example, you have worked on that. You apply the model life table, use that one when you don't have data on life tables in a country or any place. So that is one thing, the modeling aspects and so on. It has great impact, and particularly now with these what is called artificial intelligence, and that is a field which is coming, and probably that is one can specialize, if one can work on that, specialize on that, and that is very helpful. But I think a person with a statistical background is definitely an asset.
Thank you, Professor George. And you are right, because when I joined after 3 months, I decided to leave IIPS after 3 months. And then, of course, the director was K. Srinivasan. He said, if you have to leave, probably you have to pay your stipend back. So that motivated me to stay there, because I did not want to ask my parents to give me, I think that stipend was 400 rupees. So 1200 rupees I have to collect from my family.
We had 250 at that time.
Yeah, my time 400. Inflation was there already. So that's why I stayed there. I had very tough time, but I had many sleepless nights. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. Any other question to Dr. George? Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Jayprakash. Yes. I am working with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in the Family Planning Division, and as a consultant supported by an international agency based in US. It's Avenir Health. We have been doing many projections. So I just wanted, because of your experience, just wanted to know that when we do projections, population projections based on many assumptions, and fertility, mortality, and we use life tables and all. Sir, my question was that we do assume 2-3 situations where we project the birth rate will be high or low or medium, and then when we have the results, we compare it with generally with the UN projections, how much deviation we have got from the UN projection. Then there is another way of like when census comes, we can see what was when we have projected 10 years back, and how much is the difference. Sir, from your experience, I just wanted to know from you that is there any other way that we can say that this projection, this basic, the assumptions and all those things are the most accurate or most close to will be the most closer to the population, future population.
Yeah, I mean, projections or forecasting, you see, they have its limitations because we are trying to estimate what is going to happen in the future. So it may, and it is all what we are doing as demographers. We are based on our past experiences, which means the past data. And one of the advantages of demographers for demographic projection is that the demographic events are fairly stable. It won't change though so fast as in economics or any other such phenomenon. And therefore you can be fairly, for example, if you look at the fertility data over years, you find maybe a gradual, decline. It will not be an abrupt decline, So unless there is something special happens, that, but very, very unusual. And the same thing about deaths, unless there is a catastrophe, people are dying and so on. Otherwise, it is a gradual thing. And so that is one advantage of that, the demographic projections. So one way you said about the United Nations, the comparison, which is okay. They themselves are having the same problem, which we are all having. But I think anywhere you say, okay, UN is the base, is that okay? If you are a base, maybe, when while they are doing these demographic, the population projections there, you have the contact, maybe you try to know their assumptions, what sort of assumptions they are using for new projections, and that you can also try to adopt that one, using the ratios or whatever it is, and using that you can apply that. That will be a base, so that when you prepare the projections, it will be more or less comparable to what the United Nations will have for a country as a whole. Am I right? So that is one way. And then, of course, there are various ways of evaluating the projections. And then there are various, the studies on that, the evaluation and of population projections. In fact, it is in that demographic methods and materials in demography, there is a chapter here on evaluation. So I think those methods can be applied to evaluate the population projections. And one is any of these things, you have to look at the consistency. And I think that's one of the tests, we apply normally. You look at the population, the trend, and see the consistency of that one. And if you say that the projection is it's deviating so much that, then you have to think about it, what happened. So it must be one of the variable, one of the components you have gone wrong. That's what it is. Otherwise, you would have a smooth, stable type of a curve, you can have. But that is the consistency test is a very useful test. You can apply that.
Thank you, sir. We are
Thank you,
running
sir.
short of time, so I can take one more short question. DP Singh has requested to ask a question to Dr. George. Sir, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah.
DP Singh has texted me to ask a question. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay.
Please unmute TPC.
Yeah. Hello. Actually, I'm thankful to see Professor George. During my PhD, I referred some of his papers about census survival and all those things. Nice to see him. My question is same. Idrajan also said this about the projection about the migration. But is it not possible, like we do all the projection based on fertility, mortality, but like development activity, wherever development starts, maybe it takes time, 3-4 years, but it is the migration starts moving there. Maybe small shop owners, people, worker, and everywhere. Anywhere, wherever the development activities started, migration also followed it. So, but there is no any kind of numerical way. What will be this one? What will be the demand? What will be the requirement? That is what we lack in projecting impact of migration on the those areas. We always say that migration is nil at the country level, but nowadays you see that a lot of international migration is taking place. People are moving out, not coming. So our international migration level has always been now down and down. Maybe illegal migrants, I don't know. Yeah. So what is your view about this, sir, about projection of migrant trend, very short term, not maybe like UN type of projection and all these ones? Yeah.
Well,
if I'm clear, yeah.
At least again, what I can see, migration is one of the the difficult variables in population projections. I mean, births and deaths, you have a fairly stable trend, in births and deaths. But migration, you won't find it, and this applies to both the internal as well as international. But I think for a country as a whole, like India, assumption of zero international migration, or the point of view of projections, maybe I think it is applicable. Maybe it should be all right. I know there are some illegal migration to India, but outside is also migration. But I don't know, in terms of when you consider the total population of the country, the number is so small. So I have a feeling that an assumption of zero migration for India as a whole is a valid assumption. Now, as far as the internal migration is concerned, that is really a problem. And you are in India, I think what is mostly is the census data, and maybe if there is some survey data, that would be the only source. Even in Canada, it's such advanced place in this thing. It has been always a problem for internal migration. So finally the data we used, because it is also changing, as you said, we were in Canada, we were using the administrative sources, the taxation data, and that gave a fairly reliable migration movement or migration stream, and that we used for population estimates and projection, because it's not only projections but also estimates. Every year or every quarterly, the estimates are prepared. So births, deaths, and then the last is the migration. So this is the main source, which we were using for internal migration, the administrative data. And that gave a fairly reliable data with some adjustment, of course, demographic adjustments. So that's the only suggestion I can make on that.
Thank you all, and thank you very much, Dr. George, for sparing time for this discussion. I think we all have learned so much from you, and we look up to keep learning from you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. By the way, I also want to say about the migration. Some people, there are ways of now, the new technique of going from the sky, by looking and taking photographs or whatever it is, and then that also it's another source of that type of the movement of the people, which is I tried in the US. I think I understand. One of the friends, the colleagues, David Swanson, he does this type of analysis on this migration. So I have seen that. Maybe you can contact David Swanson about that one. He may be of help.
Okay then.
Okay,
thank
thanks.
you, sir. Thank you once again. I'm giving the session back to the IPSA officials. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Verma. And are you from Bihar?
I'm from Varanasi.
From
UP. Varanasi, UP.
Oh, okay. Because I have a colleague of mine in Statistics Canada. His name is Verma. He's from Patna, Bihar. Also, when I studied at the Australian National University, there was one Srivastava, Dr. Srivastava. He graduated from there. He was also from Bihar. And so that's why I asked that question. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Professor George and Dr. Shalini Verma, for this very beautiful conversation in the morning, Sunday morning. We all enjoyed it. So, on behalf of IIPS and IPSA, I thank both of you, for making this beautiful conversation. We will continue the conversation in future as well. So now, I thank all the participants. Nearly more than 80 participated in this. I thank all of you for participating in this. Now, this session is closed, and we can go for the next session. So the chairperson can take up for the next session.
Good morning to everyone. This is the third day of our program. And this is one session we thought we will organize, meeting with the directors who were part of building this particular institute since 1956. I think this is what we would like to do in the next 1 hour, maybe a little more time, I don't know, right now. Let me give a brief history of IIPS to start with. And some of you who are familiar now by reading many things, of course. IIPS started in 1956, and now we are in 65 years. It is 65 years old. That means almost what is called the aging. We say 60 plus, we call aging population. Now the IIPS is 65 right now. And we had the director K.C. Raja in 1956, started the institute with a different position. And we have right now K. James in 2021. During this period, if you go to the official website, we have close to 15 directors. We have close to 15 directors, and the 15th director is K. James. 15th director is K. James. And we lost almost 7 directors over the period of last 65 years. And if you look at it, we have lost 7 directors. We missed them in this meeting because this is also one of the duty of the IPSA to recognize their contribution and remember them, because you always remember our grandparents, parents when you go for certain function. I thought this is some way of recognizing their contribution of those who were not with us, but they have contributed for the development of IIPS, what we see today. So those 7 people includes the earliest people: K.C. Raja, Chandrasekhar, S.P. Jain, S.N. Agarwala, Rele, and of course my teacher K.P. Patak, and my colleague P.N. Maribat. So we lost 7 directors over the period of 65 years. And people who are going to be with me today, the people who are hem of the affairs in IIPS, and then contributed in their own way for the development of IIPS. So with us now we have 8 directors. Professor K. Srinivasan, I can see him. K. Srinivasan, Professor Pausaram, T.K. Roy said he will join. Professor Kulkarni is already there. Professor Ramarao is also already there. Ladu Singh I have seen. Ladri is not able to join because he's not really keeping well. He told me that I am not able to spend more time, sitting and talking. So he has decided not to be part of that, but he said he would like to listen the recording of this program. And of course, the current director, James, also there I have seen him. Now, if you look at the people who are available today for a short meeting, we have 3 full-time directors. K. Srinivasan, who has probably completed 14 years as a director. In fact, someone reminded me, I also wanted to make this point here, that during the 14 years of IIPS as a director, Professor Srinivasan was on leave for a year. I was doing PhD under him. He was leave to Australia. And that time we had acting director, Professor S. Mukherjee. And many people told me you missed S. Mukherjee many places. I said officially, he's not there in the list, but he was acting director for a year. I was there in IIPS, and many people who are in those periods, they called me and told me, when you discuss about the directors in the IIPS history, it is not there because he was acting director. In fact, I remember I went with him for a meeting by train. Whenever he signed, he'll put AG director. I used to tell him, what is AG? Is it agricultural director? I used to ask him. I know he was acting director, but then he's not in our memories, but we also lost him. Otherwise, I would have invited him. Then TK Roy completed 5 years, and Fausa Ram completed 9 years. Then we had 4, what is called the IIPS got what is called the officiating directors, which is like, until they found the new director, we have Professor Sumati Kulkarni, Professor Ramarao, Professor Lagri, and Professor Ladusi. These are the 4 directors who were very little time. Some people were less than 6 months, some were 1 year. Of course, the list is available in the website. I'm not going to give the year. And I just wanted to, talk to everyone. Probably 5 to 7 minutes I'll be giving them. I want to ask them some question. Before that, I also wanted not to ask them to think too much, because this is not going to be a highly academic session. I want to be more relaxed session, because if somebody asks me, what is my worst moments in IIPS? And what is the best moments? These are the way I would like to take it on, and also talk to people about the academic thing, because someone already told me the beginning that you can also ask how do they want to see the IIPS future, which I will probably come in the second stage. When I go back as what is called the bad moments in my life in IIPS, as I already told you, the worst moment was I was thinking to leave IIPS. This year, I was thinking to leave, almost ready to pack my luggage, and went to Srinivasan's, office and told him I'm leaving. He said, what happened? He said, I can't understand life table. I cannot understand small LX, big LX. I don't know what is this, etc. So I had a tough time. That was one of the bad time in my life, but I think it converted into a good time later. The second time I remember is 1988, after I joined in Trivandrum. I went to IIPS, and Professor Srinivasan was the director. And he called me in Trivandrum, please come, your thesis I have seen. I have reviewed it, and not only me, even Professor Kuruswamy has seen your thesis. We have made a lot of corrections. Please revise and submit and go. So I took a leave from CDS and went to IIPS. And Professor Srinivasan, I went to his room, a big room, and then he was talking to me for 5 minutes. Then he told me, okay, I'm take it. And then he was looking for my thesis, and it was not there in this table. And we have not found the thesis even today. We lost the whole thesis. I think Srinivasan probably will know. But of course, that also turned me into write maybe a different thesis. Maybe I thought the thesis what I wrote was not good. So probably I have to write one. So at the time, there was no computer, there was no disk, there was no thing. And Varuni typed the thesis a little bit. So there is no copies. And the comments that what they made was not available to me. So I think these are the 2 events I talk about bad things. I will not talk about good things. I will come about that later. Now let me go to the 7 people who are present. I would like to start with probably Sumati Kulkarni, because she's the only one probably we are the female acting director for probably less than a year. I want to start with her because the IIPS history, you look at it, because there was no female director, but we are celebrating today Daughter's Day. So I thought I will ask from her. She had probably acted very less period. Professor Sumati, can you tell me the best moments in your time, a short time as a director, and also the best moment you had as a director's chair, whatever you call them, and also probably the worst moments you had in your role as a director of IIPS. Sumati, please. Sumati, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajan. You mentioned me as the only woman director. I'm very happy to be the woman director for only and the first woman director. But it was totally unexpected, because Dr. Patrick was, when he was there, I was acting director for a long time because of his heart surgery and other things. So I had that experience. But when I got this officiating directorship, it is something more than that. And to occupy the chair, which was occupied by eminent people like Dr. Chandrasekharan and Dr. Srinivasan, I felt very happy about it. And here I would like to express my gratitude to Major Basham and Vasanti, our accounts officer, because without their support, any director can't work. And at the same time, I was the coordinator, senior most coordinator of NFHS. So that double responsibility, but I was happy to enjoy that. And some difficult challenges also were there. We organized one WHO program for all the doctors, medical officers in India. And Dr. Singh and Dr. Lahiri gave me, Dr. Srivastav gave me very good cooperation. As a woman director, I got very good cooperation from everybody. Only one very untoward incident happened, and that is when that WHO program, suddenly I got a call from the hostel that one doctor has a heart attack. And before I could reach the hostel, that person expired. It was a challenging thing, but our doctor gave me, helped me to get the certificate, death certificate, and I could handle the whole episode very efficiently. Similarly, in UP, we had some problems of NFHS survey and explaining that to the ministry and that. But Fred gave me certificate that me being the director as well as the NFHS coordinator, I could handle it very well. So these are some of the moments, and I'm grateful to all the faculty for giving me very good cooperation, and I don't feel that as a woman I had any different or any such experience that, but I feel happy that I got that opportunity, though for should be the main center for strengthening the health system of the country. And so I feel that our expertise in data analysis, we already have that. We should retain that. But by increasing and improving the social science content and by judiciously blending social science content with the expertise in statistical analysis, we should be able to be more socially relevant, and we should be able to solve the problems of the country instead of just being the academic, only being responsible to the academic community. If we want to solve the problems of the country, I feel that social science content has to be strengthened, and it has to be blended beautifully with the statistical part of the, and I feel we should have many more new areas, as I explained yesterday, like business, demography, health economics, and so many other things which we can do. And I'm sure that under the guidance of Professor James and whoever will be the future director in the long run, we will be able to achieve. And we should be IIT of human capital of the country. That is my dream. You are not audible.
Thank you very much, Professor Sumati, for participating in the directors meet. I am just moving to the next director. I'm going to pick up K. Srinivasan because, as I said earlier, he probably, as of now, IIPS is 65-year-old, and he if you look at the profile of IIPS, that he was director for 14 years. If you take that, almost 1/4 of the lifetime of the IIPS closely. I just wanted to ask Professor Srinivasan probably the same question. What are his best moments and probably the bad moments at IIPS? I know some of the bad moments Professor Srinivasan had because I was 5 years doing the same period. He was also the director. And also, I would like to hear from you the good moments and the bad moments as a director. Professor Srinivasan, please.
Thank you, Rajan. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, please.
Shall I tell the best moments now or bad moments now?
No, start with the best.
Okay. the best moments that I cherish even now, is the day I got the order from the ministry and the UGC that IIPS has been declared as a deemed university. The type of troubles and other things I went through with the Ministry of Health, with my own bosses, with the Ministry of Human Resource Development. It requires a volume to be penned down, because uh, I had to face the brunt of bureaucracy. At one point, Secretary said, if you are made a deemed university, you will be out of our control. We are paying you, but we want you to be under our control. I don't want you to become independent. So many problems were there, but luckily, I got the cooperation from all, particularly from the minister at that time, Mr. Shankaranand, and also the chairman of the UGC committee was Ashok Mitra, the first Registrar General, and Dr. Shankaran, Director General of Health Services, and Mr. Chabra, Secretary UGC. So we worked closely with them. They came, evaluated, and other things. So after 7 years of struggle, real struggle, I ignored my family at that time very much. So innumerable visits to Delhi and so many places. So that was a moment which remains in my heart. Because the same year, 85, my wife died. So this is one thing. So this is the second big moment. Because earlier, if no data from India should leave the country, data was supposed to be a confidential thing. Data on population, health. That's why when World Fertility Survey wanted to do the survey in India, I did an analysis of World Fertility Survey using Fiji data and birth intervals. The government refused. But in 1990, 89, 90, the economic liberalization took place. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. So at that time, he was also the Health Minister. So I had the opportunity to meet him. Then I asked him, sir, can we now take international surveys? He said, yes, go ahead. That's how National Family Health Survey was born. DHS was the name, but we changed the name to the Family Health Survey because I didn't want it to be a DHS. I wanted to be a little more wider than DHS. And USAID also was, which was supporting the survey financially. They also agreed on the name National Family Health Survey. The launch of that survey in 1990, actually, and the signing of the agreement which I had with the USAID and Government of India is another very cherished moment in my life, even now, because I never knew when I started at NFHS 1 that it will keep on recurring so many years, every time. Now NFHS 6 is on the wings. So these two, I would say, are the best moments. And of course, I can go on smaller moments, but these two are the best moments. Can I tell about the bad moments? I can't hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay. Now I can hear you.
Yeah. Please go ahead, say about your bad moments. You already told one bad moment.
No, I will tell you one very bad moment. I wish Dr. Saxena is here. PC Saxena. The first term we had Chinese students, 2 Chinese students. Jiang Shenghua, and I forget the other fellow's name, Shao. Jiang Shenghua became the Commissioner of Family, the State Chairman of Family Planning Commission in China, Ministry of Land. He implemented the one-child policy ruthlessly. We had long discussions with him. He did his seminar paper with me. The study tour started from Bombay to Pune, Pune to Bangalore, Bangalore to Dharwad, Dharwad to Bangalore, Bangalore to Trivandrum, Gandhigram, Madras, Calcutta, Delhi, like that. It is a Bharat tour. I don't know. S.A. Rajan, did you take the tour?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Then you will remember. See, there were 2 Afghan students, Khalidi and another fellow. And this Khalidi and other fellow always used to fight with the Chinese because the Afghans hated the Chinese. So, because I don't know, there are a lot of politics there. So they were both, all of them in the first class compartment. They were quarreling so much. The Chinese did not speak English well, but the Khalidi was very good in English. I think probably Radha Devi may know about Khalidi because he did his seminar with Radha Devi. So they quarreled, and after Pune, before the war, these fellows quarrel was so much, these two Chinese got down the train. And they just, I think some station, Hassan or someplace, got down the train. The train reached Bangalore. Bangalore, these two Chinese were not there. Saxena was the tour guide.
It was Meerut's
Then
gate
he called me.
station.
Hello. He called me from there and said, sir, big news. The two Chinese students are not here. But this is the first time Chinese came to India and they were missing. And Bangalore is our space research center and satellite research center. So then I called the Home Ministry. The Home Ministry sent a fellow locally. They interviewing me. What happened? When did they join? What is their background? We don't know their full background. Nah? We can give whatever they have given in their UN biodata. We gave. So that night I could sleep. I thought Saxena, when he comes back, he will be arrested or something like that. How did you miss him? Then Saxena was crying on the phone. I wish you were here. Sir, what do I do? I said, you just go ahead with your tour. I will take care of it from this end. So he went on the tour. He went to Trivandrum. The two Chinese fellows joined him there. What they said was, Jiang Shen was said that he slept on the platform. They used to bench cement benches. Both of them slept there. Next day morning, there was a train to Bangalore. They got down at Bangalore, then took the train to Trivandrum. That was on Island Express. So by the time Saxena finished the tour in Gandhigram and went to Trivandrum, these two fellows were there. Then he called me from Trivandrum. Sir, these two students have come. 2 nights I didn't sleep. Home Ministry fellows were at my neck. I said, you come back, finish the tour and come back. When they came, Home Ministry fellows came, IB fellow came. They interviewed Saxena and other things. He said, how did the students, how did you allow? Sir, I am in another department. Night train is going, these fellows quarreled and got down. Then when Jian and other thing came, I interviewed them thoroughly. I said, why did you get down? Sir, Khalidi was making so much fun of us. He just said, the Chinese fellows are used to moving on their stomach, and he started demonstrating in the first class compartment how he moved on the stomach. This was too much for me to take. I told him, stop it. He said, why should I stop it? You stop in Afghanistan, your entry, we will stop here. So all this type of thing. So I got down. They both got down. Midnight, 12 o'clock. Then I asked the other fellow. Then I asked the Khalidi fellow. Sir, I didn't tell anything. That fellow said, what can I do? Khalidi migrated to Australia later, under the sympathy quota. So this was a very bad moment. 2 nights I got sleep. And this Saxena also lost sleep. He thought this is the first time Chinese came to India. So this is one moment I still remember. When I went to China, for teaching a course there, I met Jia. He was a big boss there. He gave me an award and other thing. And we taught some courses. There was also population centers there, which we evaluated. Ron Friedman was there. Nicholas Wright was there. So I asked him, why did he do that? You were a minister and fellow. Sir, he is abusing us so much. I couldn't take it. That is the type of problem. This is one problem. The second problem which I have, probably Fausdaram also would have shared it. This constant problem of Koreans wanting beef every day. Meat every day. And our Indian fellows, sadhus and swamis from UP, not wanting to cook meat in the same kitchen. This was a perpetual headache. So, OK Prasad said, sir, we will have 2 kitchens. one kitchen to cook meat, another kitchen to cook. I don't know. Faustar Ram is smiling. Whether this continued after me, I don't know. So beef was cooked separately. But it didn't work. It didn't work. So other fellows, I don't know how long this went on, but this is another. The third one, small, minor instance, is a Korean fellow came. You know, this fellow is not used to Bombay monsoon. You know, that day, heavy pour. He said, what is happening? Some type of a deluge or something. He began running here and there. I want to go back home. I said, you cannot go back home now. You know, you stay put. Then I put some of our Indian friends there. You know, I don't know whether you know Jai Chandra. You know, our not this Jai Chandra, student Jai Chandra. He was a tribal dancer. You know, I used to call him tribal dancer. So he managed him and then put him back and told him. So the managing the food differences, even the particularly the Koreans, you know, and the the beef eating group and the vegetarian group in the kitchen was a problem, but we solved it. Okay, Prasad did a good job. I think we solved it amicably. Anyway, I will go on. There are because of long duration. I have many problems, many things to tell. But one thing, let me tell you, very. It was a little. You know, I was not a student of IIPS, nor was I a faculty of IIPS. I was appointed directly as senior professor and director. I was earlier director of a World Bank project in Bangalore. Dr. Karan Singh came and then so many things happened. He said, I would like you to join. There are so many problems. Sir, I don't want to go anywhere. Bangalore, I am very happy. My children are studying here. We have a nice home. I have purchased a plot of land. I am going to build a house, settle here. No. You are coming there and all those things. So I went for interview. Rere was also there. Then I was selected. I was asked to join. When I went to Bombay in 1978, Dr. Mukherjee came to receive me in the airport. It was raining heavily. So I went there. I went to the director's room. Dr. Rere was there. Mukherjee was there. Asha Bende was there. Vatsala Narayan. So I found the whole group in a state of mourning. You know, it was not happy because I am not their fellow. I am an outsider. You know, so they didn't give me that much of welcome. They thought they are a foreigner to IIPS. So I smelt it. Then I asked a faculty meeting and staff meeting. I told them, I have not come here on my own request. I was very happy in Bangalore. I had a big project, you know, a huge project. I was there. I was very happy. And I am here. I am here to help you, support you. So the first thing I took up was to make it a deemed university. Because it was a project. Anytime it can be closed. So I had a cushy job in Bangalore. Come to a project job in IIPS was not a very alluring thing. So then I worked on the. Once you have a common agenda which unites all people, everybody falls in line. This is what my lesson to people. That is, you have an agenda which benefits everyone, which supports everyone. So I worked for it in 7-8 years, you know, and then got it. So this is the type of lesson I learned. And same thing with NFHS. NFHS also, it involved cooperation. The first NFHS, which I think is, in my view, a very well-founded one to strengthen PRCs. All the PRCs fell in line, you know. If I had continued, I would have made PRCs like IIPS, you know, Chota IIPS everywhere. But you know, these are the things. So one thing which I learned, if you work on an agenda which benefits all, which is in the interest of all, you know, everybody will fall in line. Everybody will fall in line. So anyway, I can keep go on and on, you know, because unfortunately, my memory is still strong. You know, especially when I remember IIPS, I remember all the events. So I can go on.
Thank you, Professor Revathan. I got one more question for you because of the time limit. I wanted to give you just 2 minutes if you can not a more long time, because
Yeah.
I cannot give you 14 minutes because you are 14-year director, no?
Right,
So,
right.
so 2 minutes, how do you want to see the IIPS in 2031? If you are still alive and seeing the IIPS in 2031,
Yes.
10 years from now.
Again, as I told in the opening session, there are two ways of expansion of an institution. One is by fission, the other by fusion. That is, you can take over everything, all the PRCs, colleges, and other things become a university. But I don't think that is a good idea, viable idea. You need, like IIPS institutions, 20 institutions in this country for our population. 20 institutions. That is, you cannot be a type of a global institute to train global demographers. You need a IIPS type of institution in Gandhigram. You need an IIPS type of institution in Patna, IIPS type of institution in Lucknow. Everywhere in Jaipur. You know, you see these type of it is called expansion by fission. I was reading a lot of management things in this. I think IIPS has come to a stage now. I don't know whether James is listening now, where expansion as a university, big university, just devoted to population, is not a good idea. You see, if you take Indian Statistical Institute, I was alma mater of this ISI. It is an institute of national importance. IIT, Institutes of National Importance. So if you want to make it a special institute of national importance by an act of parliament, don't make it a university and one among thousands of universities, you know, in this country and dilute the type of emphasis on population. So this is one suggestion I would like to make. This is against the current national education policy recommendation of making all deemed universities in universities. It's not a good idea. That should be. See, IITs cannot be made into a university where you have to do. ISA cannot be made into a university like that. There is an Institute of Astrophysics, and you cannot make it a university. So when you specialize on a topic, they should be institutes of national importance. You can have different things in different, like IIMs, one thing. I don't know what is the Dr. James' view.
You will get his views. You will get his views before we are closing. I will ask him,
Yeah.
and I will ask him. So thank you, Professor Srinivasan, very much for your time and energy. I am moving from Chennai to America now, and we have Professor Ramarao. He is with us. Professor Ramarao also was acting director for some time, officiating director. He was also the student of Professor Srinivasan. Anyway, because I was in Bombay, I know that. I'm going back to Professor Ramarao. Professor Ramarao, can you tell us your good moment and difficult moments in your directorship? Professor Ramarao, please. Can you unmute? Professor Ramarao? Yes. Ramarao, can you hear me?
Is it clear?
Yes, very clear.
Good morning to all of you. I'm really happy to see all our teachers, Professor Srinivasan and others. The good moments are, when we had the academic council meeting before the convocation, we had discussions, and at that time, Dr. Srinivasan used to be as an honorary professor of our institute. So we had got an idea, why can't we award honorary doctorate degree? Then Dr. Srinivasan immediately agreed, yes, we should give. And we said to whom to give. Then we decided one by one. Finally, we came that Mrs. Wadia is the best. So myself and Dr. Srinivasan went to Mrs. Wadia and requested her. She very, very happy. And this, I think, I immediately informed the secretary. Secretary agreed and said that, okay, you carry on. But after 2 days, he gave a ring and saying, what, Ramarao, is it your own personal institute? You have not taken permission from the minister, this, that. I said, I don't know. As the chairman of the executive council, I have taken. And then he started, then I told, so don't worry, sir. If you are having any problems, I will put a press note saying that due to unavoidable circumstances, I cannot give. It will be postponed. Then immediately, no. I go and talk to the minister, and immediately he went to the minister and took permission, came back. And afterwards, 2 days before the convocation, Dr. Ashish Bose called me and said, I want to come and attend the convocation. I want to see Dr. The Wadia's convocation address on doing other things. I said, okay, you come down. And at that time, we invited Maharashtra Governor S.M. Krishnan. And he agreed, and all the arrangements we have done. Then on the convocation day, I went and received the secretary, and we are coming back to the institute. Then I have received a phone call from the Raj Bhavan saying that the governor cannot come because he had an eye infection or something like that. That is around 12 o'clock or something. It's only 4 hours time. Then I asked secretary, what shall you do? Then he says, you cannot read the governor's message when he is not there. Can you suggest some chief, can you suggest some person who can give the convocation address? Then I said, there are only 2 persons can give at this moment. One is Dr. K. Srinivasan, and there is Professor Ashish Bose. Then he said, we discussed 5 minutes, then he said, Professor Srinivasan is working with IIPS, so you ask Professor Ashish Bose. Then I went and asked Ashish Bose at about 2 o'clock, and he says, okay, I will prepare it. And of course, he has not prepared, so we could not publish, print out the messages, but he talked wonderfully one hour. And one more thing I learned during the convocation is when Mrs. Wadia was talking, she told that DTRC foundation stone was laid by Professor Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in Tata Institute. This we were not knowing at all, I think. And we had a really good time. I'm really grateful to Professor Srinivasan because of Professor Srinivasan we could do all these things. And I want James also to install some honorary professors so that they can help the director, because once you are, as you know, once you're a director, you will be alone and nobody is there to help. Luckily, I had Dr. Srinivasan who used to take it. And another thing is, I wanted to create a chair. Then at that time, in the Standing Finance Committee, I talked to Additional Secretary and others. Then they said, okay, let us have a chair. And I established a chair. I do not know what happened to that. So we should have more and more chairs so that we can invite the alumni experts from various countries. This is the best moment which I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ramarao. One more question before you leave. How do you like to see the IIPS 10 years from now? Do you have any vision for IIPS to advise to Professor James, who's also a student of IIPS?
See, my once K.V. Rao, who worked in the Bowling State University and by IIPS, wanted to have collaborative exchange programs for 1 year, exchange of students, exchange of faculty members. This sort of exchange programs we can have with American universities. There are funds are available. If their directors can try, they can do it. The exchange program will make institute more international, and that can be done. And
okay.
That's why I think that's good. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Ramarao. Thank you, Professor Ramarao, for joining with us. And please be with us to listen to other directors. Now I am going back from US to Mumbai to Professor Pausaram. Pausaram also was there when I was doing my PhD in IIPS. So he's not taught me, but I know him. And he was director for almost 9 years at IIPS, second to Professor Srinivasan right now. And Professor Pausaram, can you also tell us your good moments in IIPS and also the worst moments, if you can recall anything?
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I think I must say that I had no worst time in 9 years. Most of my time were actually the best, I must say, but full of challenges. And I can't call challenges as a worst time, though you have to fight to achieve some of those challenges, overcome those challenges. But at the beginning, I would like to endorse Dr. Srinivasan point, because when I became a director, it was, now I'm disclosing, I talked to many institutions, because I felt that there is no competition to IIPS, and we always at IIPS feel there is no threat. We are like big boss, so we do anything is right. So I talked to many institutions, say why not start institution like IIPS? Let us challenge IIPS, though I was director that time. And IIHMR was one, Ashok Agrawal, I persuaded, but of course he was not convinced with my ideology. But I endorse Dr. Srinivasan. We really need IIPS type of institutions, maybe with some different specialization depending on the region. If you are in South, maybe at this point of time specialize in aging and so on. But that was the point. I think I really endorse Dr. Srinivasan, and I persuaded many, but I couldn't succeed. So that's point. But when I joined IIPS, I think I had few challenges which I would like to share. The first thing, of course, the immediately, every 5 years IIPS is evaluated. And within 5-6 months, a committee was formed, and Dr. Srinivasan was a member of that committee to evaluate the performance, suggest the changes, and so on. And I won't talk detail, but Dr. Srinivasan conducted a survey during that time, and he said one finding that many faculty at IIPS feel that survey like NFHS is an addiction. It is like a drug, and that is the situation. And of course, I hope he endorsed that point, that everyone thinks that huge lot of time goes into NFHS. Faculties are addicted. I don't know what faculty means about that, but that was the challenge, to convince and work with the committee to try to justify certain points, department existence, changes if you want to support, and that things happen. But immediately after that, there was the big question mark on deemed university in India. There was a Tandon committee, and they started separate evaluation. Who should remain deemed university and who should not remain deemed university. And also dealing all the ministry funded deemed university to become independent. Just try to convince ministry to leave the administration control over institutions. So that was another challenge, series of meeting, and I remember, I think IIPS got grade B that time, and there was a lot of rumor that it may be closed and so on. I met Tandon, and Dr. Tandon says, I know IIPS and I know inside outside. You do whatever you want to do, but ministry will not leave you alone. Their control will be there and they will be a boss. You don't. And somehow or other, there are private deemed university and they prescribe. Tandon committee was actually abolished and say, no, it's things happen, and as usual. So that was another challenge we had, to convince UGC what we are doing is very different than what regular deemed universities are doing. So probably that was another challenge. But UGC says that no, you need to expand. And that's how the 2 years MA, MSc we started. Biostatistics MA, MSc we started. That means we added few courses, and almost strength of the IIPS student strength within 2 years went to 300 around, from almost 50, 60 only. So then we had hostel problem. You have to put 2 or 3 students in one room. All those challenges we try to resolve and see. So, I mean, that was the change which came, and I think the change was inevitable and good. At present, we are thinking of expanding IIPS, and those are the bases on which one can think that what can be done. But first batch of MA MSc course, I realized that we got all the local student, mostly from Mumbai and around. And I realized 50% of them were from slum area. NC Acharya College, and I mean, one way I was very happy that such a student came, but there was no fellowship. Remember that there was no fellowship for this student. But second year we tried and we made fellowship of 6,000 rupees for all the courses, even MSc Biostatistics, MSc 2-year course, and everything. And seat also got increased. So, I mean, these are the process, I think, of evolving the institution. And you can take it as a challenge and try to solve those, come out of those challenges. But these are the process which happen. But then I must say it is not a bad part, but it was another challenge because we had increased the strength of a student, and then I increased the tuition fees. When we increased the tuition fees, there was a huge protest in IIPS. Earlier we had only 20-30 students. Who will protest? Teacher or Srinivasa knows everyone by name. Okay, I will see you tomorrow. So, but here 300, 400 students, I didn't know who all are protesting, but there was a huge protest in IIPS. And one day, all students, lot of students came to my office. And then immediately PA has to call the security guard because they thought these fellows will attack now director. And then 4 or 5 security guard came to my room. I told them, no, you people go. They are very friendly. I think we will talk to them. And so, I mean, that was the challenge. But I talked to them, say that I said to a student, first you make union and then come and talk to me. You all cannot talk to me. Go and make a union of a student union, select your leader, and then come to me. Your leader can come and talk to me. I gave them 1 week time that in 1 week make union. I will certify that you are union, and later on ministry will approve. But then in those that 1 week, probably there was a lot of what you call matbhed, political matbhed, and they couldn't make the union and select the president and all those things because JNU that rule came. I don't remember the name who framed the rule for students' council or union in the university.
Lindo Commission. Lindo Commission.
Yes, right. So that came handy to me. Also, I showed to them that work according to this, and that took some time. Meantime, we got the approval of ministry and then matter. But that was another type of challenge for me. And as student strength increases, administration has to face the clear voice also one need to hear. So I think these were the challenges, and the worst part of that, starting the new building in IIPS from my time, and municipal corporation never gave permission, despite minister writing to governor and that time Prithviraj Chauhan, chief ministers. No, they won't hear. They say, why are you coming to us? Send your consultant. He will deal with us. So it went on, but thankfully, I think in 2017 or late 16, we got the approval that, yeah, you can go ahead with the building. So all these challenges, and thank you for
Thank you, Professor Bosaram. I have to, before I move to the next director, I just want to ask you probably one question, probably in 2 minutes. How do you want to see? We are located in Mumbai. Like, of course, they are talking about honorary professor, honorary people to support IIPS. We are going to expand it. How do you would like to see the IIPS in 10 years from now, 2031?
I think this subject we have discussed earlier in the beginning of this alumni meet, and IIPS, I think with a lot of thinking and their inputs and challenges looking at future, they have given the plan, I think, for the expansion and growth of IIPS in future. And I hope some of those plans, I mean, in my point of view, not all, but some of them are really good. We need to expand and we need to really grow. And that would be the way move forward. But what has not been discussed to all of us and those things, how the fund will be made available. Of course, I heard, I'm not sure, land is, I think they are planning to buy that dockyard colony earlier known as nearby. Across the road, we had a dockyard. And so that land, I think, is negotiation is going on, and probably they will get part of that land, not fully, but part of that land. So physical expansion is one part of that. You get a land, construct the building, and so on. But the other part is the human resource expansion. That has to be done very carefully. I don't think that we need to keep demography only in mind and recruit people. But when you say that you are making multidisciplinary data sciences and so on, you really need to think about what kind of human resources you need to recruit. And also think of future, because I must say this, that when I started biostatistics, we said we need a medical doctor. We selected the medical doctor, but probably it was somehow overlooked on my part that for him or her, there was no revenue of promotion. We thought it will be usual promotion, like PhD, demographer and other. There was a big block for him that his degree is not PhD. So how can we promote? He's like this, but I think now they have resolved. And that question was with AIMS, it was an IHFW, same thing, where they consider MD as PhD equivalent and so on. So that was another part. But I'm saying human resource recruitment has to be done very intelligently in future. Thank you.
One more thing, because I think there was something linked between other directors thing, because we have Lagri is not joining, and also Professor Rai just sent me a message, he may not able to join. We have only Professor Ladu Singh. I just want to ask you one more thing, because many times when we talk to people outside, because I'm sitting at outside IIPS, IIPS is like a national sample survey organization producing a lot of data. And also you also suggested that IIPS is addicted to surveys. Addicted to surveys. Because when you are expanding the big MA programs, in IIPS, do you think there should be some type of component saying that how much the IIPS faculty can devote for surveys and then teaching and research? Otherwise, if everybody is running on surveys, then who is going to run this major teaching program? Yeah, teaching program is very difficult. I know in my institute in CDS, MA program, it's very difficult to teach the MA student. PhD is something different. And we are talking about undergraduate. So I don't think you have time to even talk about sampling, how to sample the NFHS. I think, how do you view it? If that is, you already start addicted to surveys.
No, I think point which I raised, Srinivasan finding, it was the view of some faculty. Second part is that, in my view, we have faculty time divided into teaching and service. And as far as I remember my time, and now also I think it is continuing, teaching is a priority. You cannot leave your class and go for survey monitoring and those things. So the teaching is priority. Survey is how much time you can give to the survey for each faculty, 30%, 20%. Not all the time you can say, I'm working in NFHL, so I cannot teach. You have to teach. That is your first priority. So I think that's how the time distribution of each faculty is taken care. And it does not mean that teaching is being affected. But yes, There used to be a concern when we started MMSC. Lot of teaching came to the faculty. There was a discussion. Oh, now we are teaching too much. So if you go 30 years back, we were teaching hardly 10 lectures in a year. So wherever your time is spent, research and those things you can see. But look at the progress, look at the data access. Actually, I think that has made research much more important, and probably we are producing more qualitative research papers. See the publications. I see a lot of faculty getting paper from population studies, demography to review. So there is a visibility of Indian demographer, at least in terms of publications. You had American university which has published a ranking of publication based on citation. There were 2 faculty from IIPS who were among the 2% of Indian scientists. All IIT, everybody, 2% from IIPS in that group. So I feel we need to really look at how the publications of IIPS or Indian demographer in general has improved over time. And because you have easy access to the data, time they are committing for writing the paper, and exposure. I mean, I have seen 6 at least faculty got 2 paper from demography, population studies, and studies in family planning to review. Even Lancet nowadays sending to Indian demographer to review the paper. I think that shows the visibility and importance being given to Indian demographer. So I think we need to keep that. But remember that teaching, if you ignore, you will not be anywhere. Research is important. Research, in fact, I always feel improves the quality of teaching. If you are not doing research, you are not reading current progress, what is happening in the subject, you cannot be a good teacher also. So there is a strong relation between your research and your teaching. And teaching cannot be ignored in any institution if you want to grow for future, because these students are the ambassador of your institution. Once they go out, they will spread the teacher or teaching of IIPS so important. And I think still we keep saying that teaching we got, lesson we got from IIPS is unique, very different than general university. So that should be kept, but we should not get impression that lot of project, so teaching is being ignored. I think no, teaching is the first priority for IIPS, and research or surveys, they are time distribution. Now you have almost 32 faculty, remember that. So I don't think that will be happening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Posaram. I think this is one of the things even IIPS want to produce, IIPS alumni contribution to the global literature of demography. But this is one of the projects we are taking it up, and it will be at least one article of all the alumni, because I know that I know from the last 5 years. I think something we should do that. It will be a documentation of that, what you suggested. We will do that in the IIPS side. Let me come back to now. I think we have Professor.
Any help is required, I will be there to help you.
Thank you, Professor Posaram, for all the help. And before I move to Professor James to ask him few things or what is his vision, I will now we'll move from Mumbai to Northeast. Our Professor Ladu Singh. Ladu Singh, you heard from almost all the people. I know that. I would like to from you again the same questions. Your moments in IIPS, best and other moments, and what is your vision for IIPS in the next 10 years from now? You are also now vice chancellor in the university, so you may have vision for your own university. So, yes, please.
Thank you, Raj, and a very good morning to all my former colleagues, teachers, friends, students, and I appreciate the initiative of the IIPS for bringing us together, and also giving the opportunity to hear my experience as the acting director for a short period of time. I was fortunate to serve IIPS for 20 months as the acting directors. I will begin with the sweet memories of my time. I was to build up a good rapport with the ministry within a short period of time. And it was very much essential for speeding up the various projects and activities of the institutes, so that I was able to do quickly. And I was also fortunate to get the cooperations of the officials of that time, including the secretary, the director general in statistics, and deputy director general in statistics. Because I'm saying it so because when I took over, there was so much of a kind of a bad relations with the ministry, and actually it was very difficult that time. And Dr. Pausam was right. We could get the permissions for the new building sometime in the middle of the 2017, and it was possible due to the help from the previous ASMD, Madam Srivastava, and also with some licensing with the then BMC Commissioner Ajay Maheta. It could be possible, but it was the financial clearance was pending when I left, and then I was instrumental in demolishing the old building to pave way for the new building. And there were also a lot of a kind of situations difficult to manage, like Professor Pausaram was saying. The students' tank had increased with limited space both for the students and also with the faculty. That was a bit of the difficult time, but nevertheless, that had not constrained the usual functionings of the IIPS, and IIPS usual activities carry on despite the constraints of space and other infrastructures we had at that point of time. And I must also appreciate the understanding and of all the faculty colleagues and the staffs and the students of that time, that we are now passing through a phase of struggle, and once we come out this phase of struggles, we'll be leading a very comfortable say administrative and infrastructure situations. So with that understanding, all the faculty members and all the students, they had cooperated. And there were also some instances because of the overcrowding of the students in the hostels. There were also frequent fighting among the students. In one occasion, two students, girl students, they were sharing room. They fought, and one broke the laptop of the other one. Then the other person came and said that, "Sir, this has happened last night." I persuaded her that this is not intentional. It's better you compromise and stay together. And this girl said that, "Sir, unless I break her laptop again, I will not compromise. I'm not ready." Then I said, "Okay, I agree with the condition that you break her laptop, and she buy you a new laptop, and you also buy a new laptop for her." So like situations like that. So they agreed. In the convocation time, we had a lot of difficulty, but we are fortunate that Dr. Fauzaram has made a ground out of the derbies that have generated from concretizing the drainage inside the IIPS. So that ground we could use as the for the convocation. Now still people are using it for convocations and for children playing. And in one convocations, I had invited Dr. Somya Somanathan, who is presently with the WHO. And when I requested her to give her speech in written, and she said, yes, 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 but she's so busy. And she could not give a written speech for the convocations. So the convocation was held without her written speech being distributed to the audience. Then in the convocation, she gave a very remarkable speech about IIPS. And after the convocation, she said that better to not to have a convocation address because it always constrains you to express what you want. So it should be open-ended. So she keep on emphasizing that you continue this practice of having a open-ended kind of a speech. Don't make it constrained to the keynote speakers or the convocation addressers with this one. And I do not think that the survey is hampering the research and the academic involvement of the faculty members, because I was lucky to have got the confidence of Professor T.K. Roy, Professor Fauzaram, and also Professor Radha Devi and Professor Sulva Parasuraman to induct into the DLSS which was going on. Reluctantly, I involved in the DLSS 4. And once I involved in the DLSS 4, I thought that this is the best of the large-scale surveys because everything is indigenous. It gives us a scope for the individual and also the institutes to uh, develop technically, gain confidence in the technical aspects of not only the survey conducting operationalizations, but also all the uh, software development and estimations. So I must say that this survey should continue, but we need a different kind of orientations of the faculty members who are to be engaged in the surveys. See, initially, it was also Professor Fauzaram's idea that we can have a survey unit and we can recruit uh, the manpower for managing the surveys, and then the faculties only spend time in the technical aspects of the survey. So that with that plan, we started a bit, but finally is faculty who are involved, they know all the aspects of the monitoring and all the aspects of uh, the transfers of the say equipments, etc. Ultimately, even if we maintained the separate manpowers for the survey unit, the faculty ended up doing everything. They can do accounting and other things. So the faculty involvement is very much essential for the smooth functioning of the survey. But uh, uh, as all publications, research are important not only for the self enhancement, but also for uh, enhancing the pride and the prestige of the universities, and also to make our presence important to the outside world the research publications are equally important. And for that, uh, we can have a staggering kind of a planning. Staggering kind of a planning means that on rotational basis, those who are there in the previous round, they may be given relief and some new people can be inducted, and this can keep on this kind of a thing. And because of the learning I had from the large scale surveys, I was able to write a textbooks on the sample survey. So it's not a bad idea. And also uh, the this computational aspects, it has expanded the scope, the data management and the research engagement of the students and the faculties. Things like the spatial analysis, which we have not dreamed of during our time, have come as a formidable resource and inevitable for enhancing and also identifying the hotspots. That kind of things have emerged over the period of time. This has been made possible because of the surveys data which are easily available to us before it reaches out to the other users. But as for expanding the IIPS, and I must say that we must persuade the ministry to give much more faculty position. 32, I must say, is not enough. In this new university, we are having 150 faculty members, and from Monday, I will be starting the recruitment of the 35 faculty members, which could not be filled up over the years. So I must say that we must have uh, at least double of the present faculty members, so that we are able to deal with the emerging these areas where the population interface with the other field, because the orientation also has accordingly been changed. We have started this orientation with Professor Fauza Ram with the introductions of the masters and the biostatistics program, but it still needs a bit more bigger orientations because we are not yet able to go depth into the subjects and give them the knowledge which is required to excel them. And this IPSA and as a community of the demographers and the population scientists, one aspect that we have to pursue with the UGC is to make sure that these disciplines are offered, if not as a full-fledged subject. It's like the environmental science. There is a push for the environmental science to have 2 papers or 1 paper. Like that, we can push it. And probably it was there in the time of our Dr. Srinivasan sir that uh, the orientations of the elected members of the parliament, orientations of the members of the Rajya Sabha on the various aspects of population and health. So we must try to reach out to them and, and then interact with them and make them realize without populations, nothing works, no planning can be done. So that kind of a persuasions and propaganda is much needed from the IPSA community. And now also in many of the universities, our PhD degree holders, they are not willing to take them as a faculty in economics or in geography or in statistics. So many a times their applications are declined. It is only in the high reputed universities and institutions which knows the values of the population studies and of IIPS, only they recognize. Otherwise, it is a handful of the universities. This misunderstanding, we have to uh, find a way out that the universities in general, they recognize our pass out students to be their faculty members in the related disciplines. This we are not able. And even in IIPS, many times we get letters from different universities and sometimes from the State Public Service Commission to clarify whether population studies is equivalent to PhD in population studies, is equivalent to PhD in economics, is it equivalent to PhD in statistics for their promotional purpose. Many times we get a letter, and it was a very difficult time for us to write, and we used to write indirectly saying that the large part of the research of this person is say 80% is research, others are social science, like that, because somebody is going to deny of his or her promotions. So that kind of a situation we are still facing. And if the IIPS can also think of something like introducing the adjunct fellow, like what the CDS is doing, so whereby say retired professors who are stationed in Mumbai, they can come and take lectures or can motivate these things, students, faculties, members, and give them some scope for coming and working in the IIPS. And nowadays, after the COVID, we have learned a new way of learning. That is, the virtual mode have become the regular mode of learning. So anybody we can reach. So that kind of a scope, and it can be even structured into the IIPS schedule. Say, for example, once or twice in a month, say, okay, today will be the talk for such and such this alumni of IIPS who specialize in this kind of a thing. And I will be very happy to be associated with IPSA and contribute in whatever capacity I can do. And I take one the IPSA,
Thank you,
especially
Professor.
our Rajan, our friend. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor
Thank
Lord
you,
Singh.
Tom.
Because
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lord Singh. We are running late right now.
Yeah.
So before I wind up, I would like to request Professor James. Professor James, can you hear us?
Yes, obviously.
Yes. Okay. Now we are, like I think you had a lot of things from the former directors, and we missed Professor Roy. I think he sent a message. He is not able to join, and Professor Lagri. Otherwise, you met all the director in one frame right now. And how do you want, because I don't want to ask you good and bad experience because you are just a 3-year-old boy. And what do you imagine the IIPS as in 10 years from now, maybe as a director itself? And with that, we'll wind up in another maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, so you're not asking me the best and worst because you know that.
If you want to say that, you can say that.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. I'm in a webinar. Can I call you back, sir?
Ladu, please. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Professor Rajan, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for all the suggestions. I think, it was always really exciting to listen from the former directors, especially, as I told you in my beginning of this inaugural session of this IPSA, that meet, that, it is the former directors actually that made the institute so far. So I think their insights are very, very valuable for all of us. Now, the question is, how do you go to the future? That is the major question we are asking. How do you move forward? Let me first perhaps respond to Professor Srinivasan. I think that is very important to respond, and then I will come back to the few more other questions on this. The question is that whether IIPS need to expand or the institutions in India should expand. I think both are relevant. I don't think that they are both are contradictory in another. It is actually, it's not mutually exclusive. It has to be expanded. But my own feeling is that why actually the demographic institutions in India is not expanded is partly also because IIPS is not expanded. Because in expansion, in the sense that it is not that IIPS is not expanded throughout the years. IIPS has expanded, but IIPS had its limitations because being a deemed university. Being a deemed university, IIPS cannot really start any other courses, any parts of the country, because we cannot give an affiliation. That is not allowed in the deemed university setup. We have to, my own feeling is that if he had this university status, we could have really started courses in the respective PRCs when PRCs was at the gloom of glory in the 80s. And there are very, very excellent faculty in many PRCs, but we could not affiliate them. We could not really start any courses they could have affiliated to IIPS. So I think that way, if you really think the expansion, I think an expansion of IIPS from a deemed university status to university status will be good for the population studies as a discipline in India. That is what my own feeling. But then the question is whether IIPS has to be stagnant or whether IIPS should be expanded. The demography is in a fast changing world. We really, because if you look at 70s, 80s and 90s, we were in a population concern era. That has really changed now. The entire world demography is changing. And we also need to really, it is the right time for the Indian demographers really to start thinking where should we move forward, because I think many population research centers relevance many people say it has actually eroded, primarily because they were in an era when population concerns was at the peak, and now the population concerns has reduced. So ministry was started asking, why do you want you? Because family planning acceptance is no more a problem. We were doing survey at that time for that, and we were helping you. But now anyway, your relevance is no more there. So you need to really start thinking of changes. Unless you think of changes, I think our relevance, even IIPS relevance, might go down. So that is where actually we are in a time where we really need to look for what the expansion of. I think the internal discussion, I think what we have a very rough draft was presented. I think that really give an idea where are the areas which we have moved, because that is what I always felt, that IIPS has to move forward looking at IIPS strength. IIPS is known for its strength in technical aspect. There is no doubt about it. I think some people might criticize it is overuse of techniques. Some people might say, okay, overuse of data. But at the same time, that gives IIPS a unique identity in itself. I think it is not like other universities where theory has been more emphasized. I always say, we are not emphasizing that much of theory. It is perhaps some people say theory without data is bad. But at the same time, IIPS is a place where once you learn, once you come and join here, and once you study here, you will be say, okay, you are really good in data analytics, and you can really give any kind of data analysis and give an answer to that questions. I think perhaps there are areas where we need to improve, I understand, but I think we need to really start from our strength to move forward. I think that is where IIPS had the strength. But does this mean that the other parts, that what is that Ravi Verma was the other day telling whether data without perspective should be emphasized? No, definitely not. We also need to really emphasize the perspective. Where is that perspective comes from? That is what, after a long discussion, it was, in the larger committee, everyone thought that it is a perspective should come from at an undergraduate level, not at a postgraduate level, because everyone felt that the perspective of a student really, because once you start from the schools and when you come to an undergraduate, that university when you start, a multidisciplinarity and perspective really should start from there. So that is where the perspective really should start. That's why perhaps moving to an undergraduate level and then taking them to a higher levels, whether it is in a highly computational demography, or whether it is a very data analytics or data science, or whether it is in more of a qualitative and interpretation of the data, where it is more of a social aspect or development perspective. I think we can really direct students both these aspects. I think because India needs expertise from both these, not really one. One should not say that you are too much of data should not be, technique should not be emphasized. I think we have a high demand for a highly technical people in the country. We also have high demand for the people who are actually good in interpreting data, good in understanding the developmental situation. I think these both is the directions in which I think IIPS should move forward in the future. This next question was being, where the question of the survey, as well as how do you really understand it? My own view is that I think it is not the survey which has really killed IIPS. I don't think that survey has destroyed the IIPS quality, or survey has really moved the IIPS research away from what is the core demography. But perhaps what we have lacked is that I think from the survey, instead of conducting the survey, we also need to have emphasized the research in survey. We should have also had unit, like in a University of Michigan, etc., survey research unit should have been emphasized. If I really now talk to my colleagues at IIPS, I really amazed the insights they have on how to really control the non-sampling errors. I don't think that any place in India, except in ISI, where they will only speak about sampling errors, how do you really control non-sampling error in a large-scale survey? I think 25 years of experience in conducting large-scale surveys, including NFHS, DLHS, etc., but a mass of wealth of information they have had in their minds, but which has not been published, which has not been even recorded, which has not been made out to the public domain. I think that is where actually a survey research is much more important than the conduct. Conduct is actually only a small part of the survey. Conduct is done not only by the institute faculty. I think there are a large number of research officers which is appointed for the conduct of the part. So along with the conduct, I think the survey research should be more given emphasis. I think that is why actually we are fortunate to have we already told we started two departments now. One is the survey research and data analytics, and the second is the family and generations, because family and generation was primarily not thought of family and generations. It was thought of an aging department, but then people thought, it is not that, only one section of the population should be emphasized. We need a generational understanding if you really want to understand aging. That is why the name family and generation was kept. The third one is, how do we expand the quality of the faculty? Because, because Rajan did not ask me that question, how what would be my best moment in the institute. I would say that my best moment in the institute, perhaps in the last EC meeting, when the restructuring committee report came, the committee suggested that we need to create 12 new faculty positions in the institute. And it was going the EC time, EC Executive Council meeting. And when I started really talking about what is the importance of this 12 new faculty position, the secretary has started that discussion, and he told, before discussion, I want to tell you that IIPS is a premier institute for us. It is so important for us. And this 12 faculty position, we have to all of us has to wholeheartedly support, and then we have to pressurize Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance to get these positions for IIPS. I didn't have to justify anything. I think that is the importance Ministry is placing on IIPS. I think we need to encash it. Unless we encash it right now, I think the expansion is not possible. I think the direction is not possible. I think Ministry has a very high recognition and also has a interest in the institute. I think that interest, that's why it is not that IIPS need to move away from the Ministry. I think the restructuring committee has the final and their the last paragraph. What they have actually mentioned is very important. What they have mentioned is that, IIPS is a unique institute. Why it is a unique institute? It works closely with the government. I think universities, etc., in India failed because there's always there that, they couldn't work with the industry. They could not work with the people. I think they become, it's a theoretical in nature. But IIPS advantage is that they are so close to Ministry and they are really relevant in the policy realm. I think that is one IIPS has to encash, and IIPS has to project. This is an institute of a nature where actually we are really able to influence policy or work with the government, which many institutions and universities in India, including if you look at an Indian Institute of Science or Indian Statistical Institute, etc., they don't work that much closely with the government. I think that is where even national education policy or any other public universities should work with people, universities should work with industry, universities should work with government. That is where the strength of an institute like IIPS lies. I think we need to really encash from that strength. We need to move further and further in that strength. We don't need to be regret about that strength of the institute, because some people say, okay, you are under Ministry, you are so much under their pressure. I think there is nothing to be regret about it. I think that we need to really encash while moving forward in the future. That is another direction. And finally, because I should not also take much time, because the question was that how do you now, the new era of COVID, where actually interactions are much more easily possible, I think getting faculty from outside is also possible to enhance the capacity within the institute. I think this is a big opportunity for IIPS as well. And if you really look at the last Executive Council meeting, there has been 3 or 4 major decisions in the council meeting, which is already there in our website. If you look at the Executive Council minutes, is already there in the website. In addition to starting these 2 new departments and 2 new centers. We have also starting the honorary visiting professor position, visiting faculty positions, as well as short-time visiting faculty positions. We are also starting a faculty exchange with universities and institutions both in India and abroad. We are also starting a students exchange program with across universities and institutions across. And ministry has already approved the sufficient amount of money for having faculty exchange, students exchange, as well as for visiting faculty position. So I think it is not the problem with the support from the ministry. It is not the problem with the money for the IIPS. It is actually a vision which we need to really see. How do we really take forward the institute? I think in that context, I always feel alumni plays an important role. Unless we take the advantages from alumni, unless you take the, because demographers in India or in the world, if you really took a from who has really gone from India, they always invariably have a touch with IIPS. So I think that is where the wisdom is really lies. That's why the alumni, I think that's why I need to really thank Professor Irde Rajan once again. I think this global meet was such a great idea. Really be able to bring together that ideas together. I think we need to really see now what should be the future forward for IIPS in tune with the wishes of the alumni. Thank you for once again for all the suggestions. I'm sure, I think in the coming years, with all your help, we can move forward brick by brick. We can build, not immediately. I think it should be a long-term plan. It cannot be a short-term plan, but we need to really change. I think that change is most important for India, for IIPS, as well as for the Indian demography. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor James. I think you know that we have a session in the evening on involvement of IIPS alumni in the academic activities. So we also plan the session in the evening. So I think what you rightly said, IIPS alumni definitely will play an important role, to build the future of IIPS. And also, I just liked one of the idea which you said. I think that the ministry give a lot of importance to IIPS. I think that is something great, because I always feel some people, there are researchers, there are policymakers, and researchers don't talk to policymakers, and policymakers don't talk to researchers. If IIPS can play a role as influencing the policy of Ministry of Health, at least in family planning, population policy, I think you have done your job. I think that your dream of encouraging. I think that's the right word, encouraging what the good ministry. I think if you can take it up further, and alumni, IIPS alumni will be with you to see that your dream is fulfilled as long as you are the director to take to the next level. And I also would like to, before I wind up, because I don't think I'm not going to allow anyone to ask questions because we are already overshooting the time. And I would like to thank Professor Srinivasan, Professor Pausaram, Professor Ramarao, Professor Kulkarni, and Professor Ladu Singh for joining directly with us for this meeting. We had 5 directors who could join with us. And of course, Professor Rai and Professor Lagri could not join. Lagri is not well. As I told you, he needs some help. So he said he may not be able to join. But Rai is perfect. He's okay. I spoke to him yesterday also. He's okay, but he had something, not able to come. In fact, something is happening in his house. So I want to thank all the former directors. All of them are there. I think that's why I said, I think I am very happy with the COVID-19. I think COVID-19 has given us a very great opportunity. I don't think that 1,000 people registered for this meeting. If 1,000 people are going to join a global meet face to face, I don't think there will be any hotel room left in Mumbai or any place. So I think this COVID-19 has given a great opportunity for us to meet, and I would like to continue this global meet mode for some time. But I will be offering few ideas in my closing address in the evening. But I want to thank all of you, and thank you very much for the IIPS patron, Professor James, because as I said earlier, I'm not in IIPS. I am outside. In fact, I'm outside sitting in IIPS, and he's in IIPS. So it's good to have the patron and the president work together. I think we have done excellent job in organizing this meeting, and we will continue to do so in the coming future. Thank you very much for everyone joining, and hope to see you everyone in the evening. Now the other program will continue. The pre-recorded program will continue till evening. We meet at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Pausaram, Srinivasan,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
Singh,
you.
Professor Ramarao.
Have a nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Adinarayana. Thank you, DP Singh. Thank you, my team, Dipti, Nagarajan, Archana, IIPS team, and the volunteers team. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, from now on, I mean, recorded videos will be played. So anybody who have missed the programs earlier, they can watch those recorded programs. So from that will play up to 4 o'clock. So you can all watch that. Yeah. So we'll meet again at 4 o'clock with an academic session. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.